Welcome to the garage. I'm Robert, and this is Haslip Cycleworks. Today, we're going to be continuing work on our project Minibike. The filter and tube kit from Go Power Sports. When you do the intake filter mod and adapter, you lose the breather for the fuel tank and for the valve cover. So this replaces those instead of running it through the air filter. Each one gets its own separate filter. I want to say it's less than 10 bucks. It's good to keep dirt out of the motor as best as you can. Real simple install. Let's get to it. Once you have it installed, it should just sit like this, and I'll add one of the supplied zip ties here. But that's what that looks like. And the fuel tank vent filter like that. Real simple, cheap, easy to do. On the Minibike is our seat. As you can tell, the plastic has cracked and given away. So we're going to have to replace the bottom, and I think the best way for us to do that is with a piece of plywood. So what I'm going to do is pull all these staples out and trace the plastic pan onto a piece of probably 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch hardwood plywood. After we pulled all the staples out and separated all the pieces, this is what we're left with. The vinyl or pleather like upholstery, the broken seat pan that we're aiming to replace, and then the foam cushion. Pretty simple. What we're going to do now is take a piece of plywood, lay this on it, and just trace the outline, mark the holes for our seat is going to bolt to the frame. Try to get those in the same spot and cut the plywood out. Here is our seat pan traced out onto our plywood, ready to be cut out. New plywood seat bottom with a jigsaw. Got our new seat pan cut out, as you can see, and I went ahead and ran over the one edge that'll be facing up with the router and a 1/4 round bit just to kind of break this edge. Yeah, so that's our new seat pan. Go ahead and I'll double check and mark these holes to make sure that they're in the right spot, and drill those holes, and we'll put our T-nuts in there. And then we can go ahead and start putting the foam and the upholstery back on it. So I've gone ahead and drilled my holes for our T-nuts. In this case I'm using 1/4 20 T-nuts. And after you drill the hole, you simply line it up. This is what it looks like before it gets driven in. Simply line it up and then smack it down with a hammer. We've got our upholstery back on, foam is on, we've bolted the seat down, nice and sturdy, nice and stiff, and the best part is, when you sit on it, you don't feel the plastic coming up through and stabbing you in your hindquarters. We've got our 1x1 box tubing, our hardware, which I've ground all the coating off and all the numbers and everything so we get a good solid interface. And I'm going to shim it up just to make sure it's straight. We'll put the nut on the end, which is the same size as the head of the bolt, and we're going to shim it with a washer to make sure that we are straight. The axle lined up on our frame, centered, everything's squared up, everything looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and tack it and then fully weld it. And here we go. It's kind of coming together. You might be able to figure out what we're doing. If not, stay tuned. It's going to be pretty cool. Got our bolt tagged onto the cross member on Project Minibike. Looking nice and solid. To build our gooseneck, to take our piece of square tubing, I notched a 45 in it here, and this is the end that will attach to our spherical rod end. And I cut the 45 section out of it, but as you can see, I left the back side alone. That way I could just bend it together while it was flat on the table, so it's not out of alignment. You can see that better here. This is the piece where it will, once the tube kicks down, it'll kick back up slightly to go into the trailer. So here you can see all I did was cut a 45-degree notch out, beveled the edges a little bit, and cleaned it up for TIG welding. And then this end here will actually attach to our trailer, and I'll add some gusseting there. So to show you how I form this, I've just got a pivot on. I'm using the clamp as a pivot pin. We just don't, trying to do this one hand is a little more difficult, but we know it's down on the table, and we simply bend it till it touches. And that's all there is to it. So as you can see, I've got it clamped down to our Certiflat weld table using our clamps that we made in a previous episode. Everything is locked down, it's not going to move, it's not going to wander or warp while we weld it. And our joints are pressed up nice and tight. So all that's left now is to TIG weld it together. So I went ahead and welded our threaded bung onto the end of our gooseneck. And I went ahead and cleaned the metal that this would weld to on the trailer. And I added 2 gussets, just some flat bar stock that's got 45s cut on both ends. And here's our trailer with the tires on loosely with the gooseneck on it. So what does a little bit of steel, some time, and out of the box thinking get you, plus a little bit of paint? The Minibike beer hauler. Does it work? Absolutely it does. You load it up with whatever drinks you want to keep cool, food, first aid if that's your thing. It's very stable, tracks perfectly behind the mini bike. You can lean into a corner and the thing does not tip over. I've even gone flat out with it behind the mini bike at the 34 miles an hour that we achieved in a previous video, and no problems. It doesn't bounce, doesn't skip around, doesn't wander, tracks perfectly behind the bike. Would be great for tooling around the neighborhood to like a neighborhood party or block party, so you don't have to lug everything by hand, or a car show or bike show or any kind of show really. Drag races, if you need to carry fuel or something. I don't recommend carrying a whole lot of weight with the mini bike, but a few drinks and ice or sandwiches and you're good to go. That's it for today's episode on Project Minibike. Going to continue to ride it around, put some hours on the motor, do an oil change, but we're not completely done with that project yet. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button. As always, like, comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Appreciate that. And any comments down at the bottom, I'll do my best to reply to. Questions or anything at all, hit me up. Not a problem. Keep checking on the channel. And if you hit subscribe, make sure you hit the bell to receive all notifications for the channel. And we will definitely be doing more to Project Minibike. So until next time, get up, get out there, and do it.